Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be looking at the Batchat 25T Avenir, the new tier 9 event tank, clan event tank. I'm going to be showing you guys starting off with some clips and then some full games. There's a lot of games in this video because this is a very similar tank to the other two Batchats that are already in the game, and I wanted to give you guys as much games to look at basically as I can, so that you can make your own decision on what you think about this tank versus the other two available options. So I'm going to be comparing this thing straight up to the Batchat 25T AP because they're both so similar. There's a couple of similarities and differences where one has advantages over the other, but this one has like weird quirks to it that just I think make it flat out better than the tech tree version. I know there was a lot of leaks going around when this tank first was like shown in the tech tree with the extended tech tree mod, I think it is. You could see it way before it was announced, and in those leaks it was better than the tier 10, like significantly better than the tier 10, still shown as a tier 9. It's not that, so I'm just going to cut that out right away. It's not better than the tier 10, it's just marginally better than the tech tree tier 9. So first off, starting with their guns, they're within 50 DPM of each other, so that's not really a factor. Their full clip reload is also within a second. The Avenir is 16.25 seconds, the tech tree is 15.78. That's running vents. But the big thing with the gun is the Avenir gets a 2.4 second interclip, while the tech tree Batchat gets a 2.8. Now the tech tree Batchat gets the shell reload boost, but this one consistently has 2.4 seconds instead of that one engagement per 50 seconds or whatever it is where you have a faster boost. It's whichever one you like better, but I like the ability to run speed boost and double repair and not have to worry about my interclip reload because it's just consistently a little bit faster, and that less than half second does make a significant difference. The penetrations are similar, both of them are bad. The tech tree has a little bit better pen on its standard ammo, but worse pen on its premium ammo. But the big difference for the ammunition is that the Batchat Avenir has 440 alpha for its HE shell. The tech tree Batchat 25T AP only has 350 alpha for HE. So, excuse me, when you run the tech tree one, you only get a 40 alpha increase if you hit that HE shell. You get a lot more than that if you hit HE shells on the Avenir, and I noticed that while I was playing it. It's like you have Hesh, although you don't get that much penetration. You only get 53 millimeters, but it is something to note when you are 1v1ing a light tank. If you can pen HE with this thing, it's super effective. When it comes to the gun handling stats, I want to say that the tech tree Batchat beats it out, but it just depends on your playstyle, because the tech tree one gets 0.293 dispersion, this one gets 0.31, but this one gets a 1.5 second aim time, while the tech tree Batchat gets 1.71 seconds. So this thing, you're going to have a quicker aim time to a worse dispersion, and your movement dispersions are a little bit worse than the tech tree version. You both get 6 degrees of depression and 13 degrees of elevation, but the guns are just slightly different. And that being said, neither of the guns on these things are crazy. You're not going to be able to just snap shots off. Sometimes you are, but you can see in these clips here, the aim time is kind of slow and it's not a super accurate gun. So you do want to be close in, which does make sense. It's a clipper. So before we get into mobility, I just want to say when I got this tank, I played a whole bunch of games in it, and then I bought the tech tree Batchat, and I did a couple games in that too just to compare it, so it was fresh in my mind and I could give you guys an accurate assessment. But I was expecting, just from looking at the stats, for the tech tree Batchat to be significantly faster than this one, because it says that it has a higher top speed of 65 versus this thing's 62, and when I hopped in this thing, it felt a little bit sluggish. Now when I hopped in the tech tree one, it was exactly the same speed. So you're not going to notice the speed increase from the tech tree one. You do have a lower power to weight ratio on the tech tree Batchat. It's like significantly worse. It's 24 versus this thing has 26. So maybe your movement is actually better in this tank, but I wasn't able to notice it. I just noticed that they're both slower than the tier 10. So that's the stats comparison to the tier 9 tech tree Batchat. Basically, you're essentially the same speed. You have a little bit better power to weight, so you go up hills faster. Nothing really noticeable. The main difference is you can run speed boost, which I take advantage of all the time, and your inner clip is consistently a half second quicker than the tech tree version. We also can't lose sight of the fact that you could do 440 damage with HE on this thing, so the rear of some medium tanks, some light tanks, and even possibly the American heavies, although I could be wrong, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage, so make sure you load enough HE in this one. Now I'm going to go over how I actually play this tank. So first of all, I play it pretty much exactly the same as the Tech Tree Bat Chat, although this one makes credits, so I enjoy playing this one more. Plus it has those advantages I just listed, which make it a little bit better to play, so why would I play the worst one that makes less credits? So I like to start out most of my games by going in a position where I'm going to spot a lot of enemies right off the bat and not take damage in return. Now this is just standard light tank gameplay, but after this initial scouting in the mid, you can't usually stay in these spots because you don't have very good gun depression, you don't have good penetration, and you have to be exposed for a while to do a lot of damage. So you can't be like a Sheridan or a T92E1 and just peek out on heavies for a second and out-trade them if you pay attention to when they're reloading. I play all my French lights by finding a tank that's exposed, popping up on their side or rear, clipping them out, taking maybe a shot in return, and then running back to my team. This allows you to conserve your hit points for later on in the game, and the most important thing to remember is the further along the game gets, the more important you are, not just as a light tank, but as a Bat Chat, because your clip potential is around 900 damage, and the later on the game gets, the more tanks are going to be on 900 HP, and you can isolate them and take out an entire tank within a couple seconds. In every light tank and tank in general, it's important to stay alive for as long as you can, but when you have such a deadly weapon that, as you saw, I just took out a T-34 so quickly, that can change the course of a close game, like very easily. And if you don't have enough hit points to confidently do that, you're not going to be that effective, because if you can only take one shot at a time, you then have to reload your whole clip and find another spot. You're not using the tank to its full potential unless you can do stuff like this. In order to properly set yourself up for the late game, you need to not get tunneled in on a single engagement at the beginning and the early part of the mid game, because if you do that, you're going to end up trading with people and losing a lot of your hit points early on, and then you're not going to be able to run around, find isolated targets, and take them out. And I did just say this, but it's important to know, when you are in the early game and the mid game, if you're trading with people that are hold down, or you're just in a medium tank brawl, and you're just shooting a couple shots, trading the same amount of shots that you fired out, you're completely wasting the fact that you're an autoloader, and the disadvantages that you get from being an autoloader are going to outweigh the fact that you're doing damage. So you're just going to end up basically losing hit points for free and then getting pushed on. So at the beginning of the game and towards the middle of the game, you need to not be trading, and if it means you're doing nothing but holding a spot and preventing the enemy from pushing, that's completely fine. This is one of the only tanks where, unless you're a pro, doing nothing is okay, because if you're doing something and you're taking damage in return for it, you'll probably end up doing worse for your team than if you just survived for another couple minutes and then did something on tanks that are now lower HP. Now, if you know what you're doing and you're experienced in light tanks, definitely don't just sit there and do nothing. But if you find that you keep taking damage every time you try to peek people, chances are you're doing worse for your team than if you just relaxed a little bit, repositioned. You can see the same sort of thing that I'm doing in this game here. I'm going to a position where I can spot if anybody goes to their medium side. Their light tank is spotted in mid, so I make sure he doesn't spot me in return. I sit here for a second longer, but I'm thinking in my head, if anybody else pops up in mid, I'm leaving, because I don't want to get caught out from somebody that I didn't spot going medium side. One more tank does get spotted, so I'm going to hit the speed boost, which isn't an option in the Tech Tree one, and I'm going to run back towards the spawn to support our heavy tank in mid. Our E5 is 100% going to get overrun if he doesn't have any support, and there's not so much that I can offer. I'm not in a Leopard 1 or a 4005, but I can do a little something to each target at a time, and as long as I focus on one guy at a time, that's one less guy that's likely to rush him. The E5 only needs to play this right long enough to hold these guys off for the rest of our team to kill the two tanks on the other side of the map. I'm going to support him for as long as I can, because I want the E5 to survive well beyond the amount of time it takes for the rest of the team to kill those other two tanks. In addition to that, I don't need to help 5 tanks kill a Jagdpanzer E100 and whatever other tank is over there, so that's why I'm going to help with this guy and kind of sit in the back of the map, but this is the best way for me to support him, because if I go up there, they're all just going to shoot me instead, and then I'm going to die. Now, right as I see this WZ-121 dropping down, I'm thinking to myself, he's going to pop up where I'm looking right now to flank the E5. There's no way he's going to pop up at this corner. and I'm just going to take the risk on that because I need to help this guy, but in the back of my head, I know that this WZ is going to pop up right in front of me in the spawn for some reason, just looking for me. I also want to point out that when I only land 2 out of my 3 shots, like that engagement right there, it's the equivalent of getting shot by a tank destroyer. So me being back here, as long as I don't stay here for the rest of the game, it's not that bad of a thing. I am effectively supporting our U5. And I do tend to play this tank very passively because you can't win one-on-one engagements against other lights and medium tanks because you just don't have the DPM to do so, and you're a clipper tank. You've got those 3 shots, and then they're just going to be shooting you without any punishment for the next 15 seconds until you reload. So you kind of have to play it passively because you can't hold medium side. Like if I was in a Leopard or something along those lines, I could have held that WZ back, and he wouldn't have been able to cross the open ground to get to me, to get across that lane to get to our spawn. That's just not something that you can do in a tank like this. So I have to play passively and run away from him and kind of kite him to get free shots until he's low enough to clip out, and then if he exposes himself, then I can rush into him and clip him out. But if he doesn't do that, there's nothing I can do about it. So now I'm kind of in an awkward scenario, and I should have waited for him to try to blind fire the bush. I thought I was spotted because of how close to me he was looking there, but I realized after watching this again, if I just held that shot, he was about to blind fire, and I wouldn't have taken that hit. But it is what it is. I'm still 30 damage above his average roll, so there's a chance that he doesn't one-shot me, but there's pretty much just as good of a chance that he does one-shot me. So I'm going to hug this rock here so that he doesn't pop up on top of the mound and kill me from that way, and I'm not exposed to the heavy tanks in mid. And now I'm just going to wait because we have a numbers advantage, and like I said before, I want to survive for as long as possible. And as long as I'm sitting here, it's better than me being dead, and he's going to have to do something to kill me. I'm not just going to let him do it for free. Now, if that just means delaying until the heavy tanks in mid get to me, whatever, but I'm not going to peek out and try to get a free shot when the chances are I'm going to die. Now here, this is his mistake. He rushes in and closes the distance with an autoloader. You don't want to be doing that because once I hit 1, now you're on a 1-shot, and you're not going to get out of the way in 2.4 seconds. So I made a lot of mistakes in that game. I assumed that WZ would not go for me, but he ended up going for me anyway, and since I was focused on supporting the E5, I was kind of okay with taking a risk that I shouldn't have been okay with taking. When the WZ actually did show up, I wasn't prepared for it, but I was able to cope with the situation and ended up winning the engagement, although if I had been more prepared for it, it wouldn't have cost me this many hit points. Now that we're down at 450, we're at that area that I was talking about before where I can't confidently just clip somebody out, and this is a really painful engagement right here. First shot into the track, second shot does pen, but then the third shot bounces off exactly where the second shot penned. So now I have to worry about being a 1-shot to everybody and having this concept 1B right here. But he makes the same mistake that the WZ did. He closes the distance. Not only am I able to control this because I'm 10 times faster than he is, he's also going to be proxy spotted, so I'm going to know exactly where he is the entire time. I bait out a shot from him, and it's over. There's nothing he can do. 2.4 seconds. As soon as you miss that shot on an autoloader, all they need to do is peek out, and you're not going to reload by the time they get the clip through. So don't close the distance on a bat chat. It's not going to be good for you. If you can close the distance on an enemy when you're playing the bat chat, that's great, because as soon as they miss the shot, you can jump out on them and clip them out. That's exactly what you want to be able to do. But if they're far away, you can only get 1 shot out, and if you trade that 1 shot in return, you're basically just ruining the fact that you have an autoloader. There's no reason that you should be taking 1 shot for 1 shot trades in a tank that can do 3 shots in 4.8 seconds. I'm just going to fast forward to the kill shot here because this guy just ran away. I was expecting him to push up when the concept pushed up. That's why I was driving so weird up there. I didn't want to get caught out, but he just backed up. I don't know why, whatever. He peeks out, dies right here, end of game. So I'm going to put my conclusion right here before the final game. The final game is long, and it's a good indication of how you're supposed to play the tank, but I want to talk about the gameplay during that game. So my conclusion about this is that it's a better bat chat than the tech tree bat chat, but it's not significantly better. But if you like the way the tech tree bat chat plays, play this one, you'll make more credits. It's not so much better than the tech tree, like the WT Ritter is so much better than the tech tree Waffenträger. It's not like that. It's more of a clone that's premium. That's the best way to explain it. It's definitely worth getting if you like the bat chat. I love playing this thing. But if you want to play a tier 10, that's better. The tech tree tier 10 bat chat is also better than this one. So it's a basically just a premium. There's nothing super good about it. It looks awesome. It makes credits. Definitely worth picking up if you like light tanks. You'll like it better than the 50 TP and the Ritter. But those tanks are both significantly better than their tech tree counterparts. So this is not the overpowered option that everybody thought it was going to be. Alright, so back to the gameplay here. At the beginning, same thing as always. I do the same thing in most light tanks and mobile mediums. I'm going to go to a place where I can spot everybody. I see they have 3 lights and mediums, so I'm going to go to the bridge here, spot that crossing. Tried to get a shot off, but it went into a weird, strange location. I don't actually know how that shot missed that badly, but whatever. And I'm just going to sit here and see what happens, because I don't want to go rushing into town to see if the heavies are there, because if I run into the heavies, then, you know, I'm dead. And I can't go support the lights and mediums because there's nothing that I can clip out on that side of the map. I can only do 1-for-1 trades, which is not something I want to do. So I'm just going to keep spotting mid. If anybody leaves or tries to support these guys, I'm going to light them up, just like this Cannon and Jagdpanzer right here. And this is a situation where doing nothing is potentially better than doing something, because my team is not leaving the same spot. They're all camping just outside of spawn, and I don't want to be the one guy that gets adventurous and then just dies for it. There's no reason to try to be a hero in this situation. Now that we've lost that side of the map, I can see that there's at least 4 tanks on this side of the map. I just spotted another one, so there's only 2 tanks over here. Maybe 3. Yeah, there might be 3 tanks over here. Rewatching this. I get a shot into that guy. I trade for him. Not ideal. I wasn't expecting him to be there, but now I'm just going to get away from him and try to go back towards our spawn so that if he pushes out, I have him in a crossfire. And unfortunately for me, right as I do that, there's an M103 just chilling back here. I was not expecting this guy to be here at all, but here's the HE shell going into practice right there. 521 and an engine fire. That's pretty crazy for a light tank. Unfortunately, I get shot again from mid because my driving is awful, but that M103 is really hurting now, and he's spotted. Everybody knows about him, so he's not going to surprise anyone now. Now I'm going to reload, and I'm going to take a safer pathing to try to kill him, but somebody already took him out. That's exactly the kind of thing you want to be doing in this tank. I wanted to find out if I could control the spawn. I found a tank there completely isolated, and I did a big part in taking that tank out. You want to be running around looking at isolated targets or targets that are below 900 in this. It's the exact way that you play it. So now that we have the spawn, we can start trying to crossfire the guy in mid. We got a shot into him, another engine fire, and that forces him to drive forward, which might not be the most ideal position for him. So as long as we're shooting him, we're pressuring him, and that's exactly what you need to do in this game. Now what I'm doing is setting up and waiting for the Leopard to flank me. If I sit here, as soon as he gets spotted, I have the gun depression and the shot to take him out. Now, he didn't try to flank me, he was just driving aimlessly through mid, so when he gets spotted again, now I have to go to him. But I know that the heavy tank and him are both one-shots right here, and I have 2 shots loaded. So I kill him, reload the shot real quick, right before the heavy tank fires, get the kill. Now I'm going to exit out towards my team and an area that I know is safe, because I have to wait 15 seconds, and I don't want to run up on somebody that's full HP, especially while I'm reloading. Now it's a 3v3, but our Carnarvon has no idea what he's doing. He hasn't left that spot all game. Our T-30 is driving through town, which also isn't the best choice because the Carnarvon's on the other side of the map, and even if he doesn't know what he's doing, you can use him for spotting or something. Now, I spot this E75, and I get scared that he spotted me. He didn't spot me back, but I'm just confused now because I was going to try to cross mid and go around the back, but now I can't do that because that guy has been there literally all game. He's full HP, so now I have to find another way to approach this. So we have a full HP E75 and 2 one-shots to deal with. I'm not too worried about the E75 because it's not a 1v1, and he didn't seem like he was that skilled of a player to where I'd have to worry about him. This is not what I wanted to end up doing because now I just have to drive straight at a Cannon Jagdpanzer and a Char Future, which if they both hit their shots, they're going to kill me, and it doesn't matter that they're one-shots. I don't want to have to push indirectly into them like this. It's what I'm going to end up having to do. But it turns out that they're not here, and it makes sense because that full HP E75 is going to eat shots for them, so they followed back to their spawn to sit next to him. I don't know that for sure though, so I'm going to start blind firing these bushes that they might be hiding in, because if I try to cross this field and I take a hit because one of them is camping in that bush, I completely lose any advantage that I may have had. I would not have gotten spotted for firing those first 3 shots because I was double bushed. Now this shot I'm going to start blind firing at. I may have gotten spotted for taking this, but if I got spotted, then it would have confirmed that they were there. As soon as I clip out here, I see the Kanonen get spotted, and since I didn't kill anything or get spotted for shooting there, I know that he's either on the other side of this hill in their spawn, or more likely he's with the E75 and the Kanonen. So I'm just going to move up as if they're not here. Still going to be a little bit aware, because you don't know what's actually happening, but as soon as he gets spotted, I know my cover is blown, so I have to approach this in a mechanical skill kind of way. My positioning advantage has been lost. All of my advantages are gone other than whether or not I can hit these shots better than they can hit me. So here goes. I get the shot off on him before he fires. This guy tries to peek me real quick, but I hit the shot and he is done. Now it's just a 3v1. The Carnarvon has finally left his position, and we can move up on this E75 because if I get around that rock, I can just circle around the rock and he won't be able to catch me. So I'm not too worried about him rushing and killing me. I just want the damage at this point. He is also stock. I think that's an 88mm gun he's got on there. Could be a 105, but he's not going to be one-shotting me, basically, even with AG. If he was running the 130, or it's a 128, he could one-shot me with HE, but that would have to be a very high roll. With my luck, it would probably happen if he was running the 128, but he's not. So we can wait for him to back up here. He goes on a one-shot, take a quick kill right there, and that's game with 5 kills and 3,700 damage, excuse me. I hope this video helped anybody that was deciding on which tank to buy. I think today's the last day that you can get them. If it didn't help you with that, I hope it helped you figure out how to play the Bat Chat, either the 25T AP, the tier 10, or this one. They all really have the same play style. This one's just slightly better than the Tech Tree tier 9, and then the tier 10 just does more damage per shot and is faster. So some key things to remember are: don't trade, keep your HP to the end of the game, and try to find isolated targets or targets that are below your clip potential, and take out whole tanks at a time when you can. You also want to avoid 1v1s, and you're going to want to avoid any engagement unless absolutely necessary, where you're going to be shot while you're reloading. You want all your engagements, if you have to trade, to be a single trade for your 3 shots, and then you run away while you're reloading. For example, if you take an initial shot from an E5, get your 3 shots in, and then take a second shot while you're leaving, what is the point of you doing that? You just took around 800 damage to do 900 to a tank that starts with 2400 HP. If you follow those rules and just generally play well, you're going to do really good in any of the Bat Chat tanks, or the French light tanks in general. They're super good for winning games, and they have very high carry potential. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a long one. If you're interested, check out my Discord link in the description. If not, have a great day.